All right, good afternoon. My name is Eric Lowry. I'm your local neighborhood friendly energy auditor. And going to kind of walk you through what is an energy audit for your home today. So here's our agenda for today. We're going to talk about energy use. We're going to talk about what an energy audit is and what you can expect if you want to do that. Typical issues that are found in an energy audit and what you can do about it. Almost everything's fixable. Okay, so here's the long definition of what an energy audit is. It's essentially a study of where you use energy in your house, where that energy goes to, whether it's heating or whether it's cooling or whether it's cooking, whatever it might be, and how to reduce that usage without affecting how you use your house. This chart is from 2009. Obviously, it's a pie chart. It shows percentages of energy used for various aspects of your life. It says 42% space heating, 6% air conditioning. I know in my house, our air conditioning is a lot higher than 6%. But I think, generally speaking, it's probably not a bad thing to look at. But obviously, space heating is a biggie, and we want to make sure that our houses are as airtight and insulated as we can get them to reduce them. So what is an energy audit? We want to look at the whole house as a system. And what I mean by that is we have the insulation that encloses our house to keep it warm or cool. We have a heating and cooling system, and we have the people that are in it. We have lights, we have appliances. All of those things have impacts on the house and on the people that live in the house. So we might, if a certain room in our house is cool during the wintertime, we might think that we have an insulation problem. Well, we have to look at other things. We might have a duct issue that leaks air. We might have window issues. So lots of different things we want to look at. And like I talked about, there are various issues that affect houses, air leaks being the biggest one. So, if I had to take a really leaky house or a really poorly insulated house, I'd probably take the poorly insulated house. We want to try and reduce as much air leakage from our houses as possible, because air carries heat with it, whether that's into our house in the summer or out of our house in the winter. We want to take a look at attics, walls, and floors to make sure they're insulated properly. We want to look at heating and cooling systems. We also want to look at leaky ductwork, which is really separate from the heating and cooling system. The heating and cooling system could be great, but if the ducts are a mess and they're leaking air in the attic and the basement and the walls, then the heating and cooling isn't getting where it needs to be. Moisture problems is a big one. Lots of our basements around here have water problems. Most of us have sumps, and the moisture in our basement can move to other parts of the house. We want to make sure that we don't have mold issues or decay or structures of our house. Doors and windows and attic hatch issues. They're lesser on the scale of things we want to take care of, but we do want to make sure that they're in good shape. I'm really big on not replacing windows. I like old windows, and in most cases they can be fixed and taken care of. And of course, we also want to look at contaminants. Lots of houses have asbestos or mold issues, back up to our moisture problem, and we want to address those just to keep the health of the people living in the house good. And the last, but definitely not least, is light bulbs. Changing your light bulbs from incandescent to LED at this point is the single biggest cost-effective change you can make. It's really simple to do. You can do your own light bulb audit. And of course, some new houses have issues too, unfortunately. Okay, I'm not really going to go through this too much, but I did talk about this insulation. A lot of people are familiar with R value. Well, R value, the higher the R number, means it's the thicker the blanket that you have in your house. So you want to have, by today's standards, you want to have an R49 attic insulation. Older houses oftentimes have little or no insulation. That's definitely true. Insulation effectiveness is reduced by how it's installed. If it's compressed or it's missing in certain areas or there's air leaks, that doesn't really work too well in terms of the insulation. Like I said, air leakage is a major contributor to heat loss. And air carries moisture and pollutants into and out of our house. So if we have a leaky house, we're also getting outdoor pollutants in our house, pollen and Okay, well, a lovely old window, clearly wintertime, you can see the snow out the window. And on the lower right there is an infrared picture with the darker colors, the purples and the blues being cool, and the brighter colors, the yellows towards the white, are warmer. You can see around the gaps of the window or around the little pulley at the top there, there's air infiltration in this case, which is bringing cold air into the house. You know, that could be fixed. They actually make a little cover for that little pulley. If you want to, you could replace the jambs and keep the same window. You could replace the jambs and have a more airtight lifting system for the windows, but you can still keep the existing windows. You can also use storm windows. In this case, there are storm windows there. Another window pulley, an older window. It's pretty leaky around the edge. And this, you know, again, storm windows can help on this. You can also, there is window weather stripping that you can have installed. Nice old wood door, which I wouldn't replace in a million years, but it does need a little TLC. Now, if I recall correctly, this door didn't have a storm door, which would help significantly, but I get the aesthetics of storm doors on kind of old houses. But weather stripping and you know, thresholds on those can make a big difference. This is what the inside of a row house attic looks like. Obviously, no insulation in there. You can see the plaster and lath at the ceiling below. I'm not sure how they got a door up there, but they did. But this can be insulated. This is the kind of attic I like to see. That there's nothing in your way to insulating and air sealing this attic. You can get in there, cut a little hole in the ceiling, get some skinny guys up there, and insulate that attic. Similar attic. You can see there's a little bit of insulation in there. But that needs to be touched up because you want to have a nice, consistent thickness of insulation. You don't want it to be piles here and no insulation other places. You want a nice, you know, new fallen snow kind of appearance to your insulation. It's always good to keep your bicycle on the attic. I think there's a lawnmower there too. But this gives you a good opportunity, once you're up in the attic, it gives you a good opportunity to do air sealing. If you need to get bathroom fans installed, that's a great time to do it, to keep the moisture out of your bathroom and get that outside. That's a whole house fan, which are great if you know how to use them and they're airtight over the winter, but if they're not airtight over the winter, they can be a real leaky situation. Now this is actually a picture of that previous whole house fan. You can see the louvers there, no big deal, except for the cold air that's whipping, or the heat, probably in wintertime, the heat's whipping right up through there. But those can be fixed. They make nice whole house fan covers. Attic hatches, similar situation. And you might think that, you know, the hatch or the whole house fan isn't a big deal because it's not a big square footage part of your attic. The problem is when you get into the mathematics, and a really small leak in your attic takes away a major percentage of the value of your insulation for the whole attic. So it does make a big deal. And they have nice kits that you can install on these attic hatches that will make them more airtight and way better insulated. Mystery ceiling. Now this was a young man's bedroom, and he noted that it was particularly cold, and there was no reason, you know, there was warm air coming out of the heating vents, there was no reason that his room was particularly cold until I got the infrared camera out. And then major sections of the ceiling, essentially that's uninsulated ceiling. So that ceiling right there is probably 50-ish degrees. Well, when he's lying in bed at night trying to be 70 degrees, that's like a giant ice cube just sucking heat away from his body. So again, cut a hole in the ceiling, and cut up, and fixed it. Same young man's closet.
Whoa.
Nearly the entire closet is uninsulated. And this is a new house. So,
But was that the attic above that?
That was the attic above that.
But you couldn't see the attic.
You couldn't, in that case, you couldn't see the attic because it was walled off and there was no hatch to access it. So we cut 18-inch, I can fit through an 18-inch by 18-inch hole, I know that for a fact. So, get up there, you add some insulation, you do some air sealing, it gives you a good opportunity to put in, other wiring or whatever you might want to do, and then you patch up your little hole. This is a bathroom. That wall is an exterior wall. And unfortunately, medicine cabinets, I have to suggest medicine cabinets on exterior walls are just a bad idea to start with. Because they actually had, what gave these people, made them realize they had an issue was that they had things in the medicine cabinet that were congealing and solidifying. So, in cold, toiletries just don't really work too well. Okay, this is in the same house. This is an interior wall. And that is cold air coming down from the attic into the interior wall spaces. So again, you need to get up in the attic and find those holes and those gaps and seal them up with spray foams and caulkings and things like that. And that gets rid of that air leakage. So what we have here is a heating register, a recessed light fixture, and a bath fan. Again, all of this stuff, if it's installed properly when it's first put in, this doesn't exist. So all of that, you have to get up in the attic and seal everything up. Let's go back to that. That is actually that recessed light fixture from the attic side. There's a little sticker right there on the bottom of the fixture, which I have in my hand. It says, don't install insulation within 3 inches of this light fixture. I'm pretty sure that's within 3 inches of the light fixture. And that's from an overheating standpoint. Certain recessed light fixtures can't have insulation right tight against them. And we can fix that too, because we can put a little box over it, a non-combustible box, and seal around it, and take care of both the insulation and the air leakage issue. Heating register or return register in a bedroom. Lots of cold air just whipping right out. And I think some of these cases there were actually missing sections of the air conditioning ducts in the attic, which that can be fixed too. Light switch. Or I wouldn't chase light switches in your own house until you've done everything else to insulate and air seal, because that's a relatively small component. If you happen to have old floors this was a church in Conshohocken that had an totally unconditioned crawl space right underneath it, and there was no insulation, and literally the boards of the floor were right on top of the crawl space. That would be pretty chilly to put your feet down on in the morning. Smoke detector, there's air coming out of there. Okay, so let's move on to light bulbs. Light bulbs are probably the single most cost-effective thing that any of us can do to save some money and reduce our impact. So let's talk about the types of bulbs, the payback for the various bulbs, and some people have no opinion as to light color of light bulbs, but some people do, and there's a lot of different colors, and people like a certain light color. So you got to be very careful when you buy light bulbs that it meets your needs in terms of color, whether it's a little more yellow, a little whiter, super bright light for daylight type bulbs. Okay, so there are incandescent bulbs, old Thomas Edison's bulbs from way back. Halogen are in fact incandescent. Those aren't halogens. Halogen are incandescent. They're just a little bit more energy efficient than the traditional incandescent bulbs. You have compact fluorescent, which are the curly Q ones, and then they had to put covers on them to make them look more like Edison light bulbs. And now we have LEDs, which are light emitting diodes and are the most energy efficient. They give off very little heat and they give off the most light. 5 years ago, I was still telling people, yeah, if you want to put in LEDs, put them in, but they're a little bit pricey. Today, we don't have any excuses. You can buy 4 and 6 and 8 packs of LED light bulbs for $5 and $10. They're definitely, now's the time to get rid of the incandescents. And I hate to throw out something that's working, but if you have a working incandescent bulb, get rid of it.
So what do you do with your old light bulbs? I never know what to do with it. I have a lot.
Well, the only one that's with the, well, you have working light bulbs?
No, so I rent it, so every time something needs to be replaced, I replace it with an LED, but then I don't know what's.
Well, the one you need to be cautious of are the CFLs, because they have a little bit of mercury in them.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to take those back. Almost all hardware stores will take them back. Local municipalities will often host.
Okay.
Yeah, the Mom's Organic.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different places, but most, I mean, certainly the Lowe's and the Home Depots and a lot of municipalities will take them back.
Okay.
They just shouldn't go in your trash.
No, I know, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
If we have brand new ones still in the box, should we just take them somewhere?
God,
The compact fluorescents.
brand new CFLs, boy, CFLs are only slightly less efficient than LEDs. I would try and find some place that would use
Okay, they're pretty
CFLs.
good.
Yeah, in terms of efficiency, they're fine. Yeah, they're really pretty good. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily replace a CFL with an LED because there's a relatively minor efficiency difference between the two. So I'd say if you're working CFLs and you don't want to use them, I wouldn't trash them. You could probably find, kind of an environmental thing to do if you find some place that could use them. I'm not sure how easy that would be to do, but. So as you can see here across the top, it says 60 watt traditional incandescent, and then the 43 watt is the halogen, and then we get over to CFL, and on the far right is LED. And as you can see here, and if you look, you got to pay close attention to what's on the bottom of this. It says based on 2 hours per day of usage and an electricity rate of 11 cents per kilowatt hour. Well, I use most of my lights more than 2 hours per day. And our electricity rate is probably about 15 cents a kilowatt hour. So when you see here where it says annual energy cost, the cost for the incandescent bulb is probably somewhere around $6, which doesn't sound like that's too much. But when you get the whole way over the LED, you're looking at from $6 down to maybe $1.20 or something like that. And that's just the energy use in 1 year. And the bottom row shows the life of the bulb, and the LEDs last anywhere from 20 to 50,000 hours. I mean, you're talking light bulbs you may never have to replace again. And they're certainly great for high ceilings or outdoor lights that might be high up over the garage or something like that. But LED, at this point in time, LED bulbs is the way to go. And I would definitely get rid of any incandescent you happen to have. This is a label from a light bulb package. I don't know when they instituted this, but it's kind of like the food information label, except it's on your light bulb. So it tells you how bright it is. And in this case, it's this bulb is 800 lumens, which is kind of a standard brightness light bulb. It also tells you the life of the light bulb in years. And again, you have to look at kind of what's the basis for that, but that's based on 3 hours per day. So 9 years is a long time for a light bulb. Light appearance, and it says warm through cool. Well, that's kind of yellow through like really bright white or almost blue. The number you see there it says 2700 K, which is 2700 kelvins, and that's the color of the light that bulb gives off. So the lower that number, like a 2700 K, would be pretty yellow, which is a kind of a comfortable light for a lot of people. If you see 5,000 kelvins, that's a really white sunlight type, which may suit your needs for whatever you want to use that light for. So here's kind of the picture of what those different colors of lights are.
Can I just
Sure.
comment on the color thing?
Mm-hmm.
People are finding it really can affect your circadian rhythm. Like if you have the high kelvins, like late at night, you can have trouble going to sleep. But on the other hand, if you have the high Kelvin in the morning, it can help you wake up and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So our biology is tied into a lot of this color as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Our circadian clocks.
And I've known some people that the brighter, the more sunlight type lights can be beneficial if there are some depression issues because you need more sunlight. You might not get that in your office or wherever you have to work. So if you have those lights, you might get a little more daylight, so to speak. Health and safety issues in our house. I mean, obviously our houses have to be a safe place to live. This is asbestos on heating pipes in the basement of the house. Asbestos is a great insulator. It's just unfortunately you can't breathe the stuff. So I would get this personally. I would get this tested to make sure that it is in fact asbestos. And likely, and this is kind of a pretty gross situation, but probably have this removed. There's certainly places that you might not need to remove asbestos. Again, that's totally a personal decision for your family's needs. If it's some place that you're going to be bumping into it all the time, you might turn it into powder or turn it into dust, then it's something you definitely want to think about removing. Knob and tube wiring. Lots of knob and tube wiring still around. It isn't inherently dangerous, but it is definitely a very old wiring type. It has a canvas wrap on the wire that degrades with time, which exposes the wire, and it's also an ungrounded system, so you can't have a grounded system with knob and tube wiring. You'll probably find some insurance companies won't insure houses any longer that have knob and tube wiring. But if you happen to replace your wiring, you definitely need to get rid of that. Okay, so what are the goals for an energy audit? We want to, benefit the health and the safety of the people who live in the house. That's number one. We want to improve their comfort where we can, adding insulation, reducing air leakage, improving appliances, heating and cooling appliances. And we want to then, of course, improve the energy efficiency of the house, reduce your bills. So what can we do? We can insulate, we can air seal, get rid of water issues. And many times the water issues are actually outside the house. So rain gutters that need to be gotten further away from the house to get the water away from the basement. We can improve appliances and lighting. And of course, we can change habits. So I don't know, most people know what great stuff is or spray foam that we can use. There's lots of good things that you can do yourself. There's also good contractors that can be found. You'll probably find if you're doing a big job, if you want to insulate your whole attic, you may not want to do that yourself. Although there's lots of good information out there to be able to do it yourself. So that can be used. Caulking your windows. Although I did realize when I was looking at this earlier that they're actually caulking the opening gap of the window. So that's probably not the best. That looks like a brand new window that's probably weather stripped really well, and they're actually caulking it shut. So that's probably not the best picture. Make sure your doors are weather stripped. And of course, it's a brand new door. Blowing insulation into your attic, and you can see here that there's actually already some insulation there that doesn't look in great shape, but you can add insulation right over top of that. And that is, I've done that to my house. That's a super dusty process. You probably want to pay somebody else to do that. And sealing your air ducts. So if you have sheet metal ducts in the basement or the attic and you can get to them, this kind of mashed potato looking material is called duct mastic, and it's really easy. It's a water-based material. You can brush it right onto the seams of the duct and seal them up a little bit. Okay, so what's the perfect house? It has no windows. It has a geothermal heating and cooling system. It has an infinite R value insulation. It's low maintenance, and it has 0 utility bills. That looks like a pretty cool house, actually. I'm not sure where it is though. And that's it. So I'll take any questions or comments.
The last slide that you had up with the ductwork, that one. I just had my heating and air conditioning checked, not the air conditioning, of course, and there are gaps in the ductwork. And he said, I said, should I duct tape them? What should I do? And he said, don't worry about it because they're returns.
No, I definitely
He
would.
said, if you want to, you can, but you don't worry about
See,
it.
that's the unfortunate thing I hear all the time.
I mean,
Unfortunately,
they're just little gaps, but
Well, and this is what I tell my clients, it's death by 1,000 pinpricks, because if you have the little gaps that you can see, some places you may have big gaps, and you add up all those little gaps, and now you got like the size of a window that's in your duct system. I mean, I would say if it's pretty easy to do and you can get to them, you should seal every gap you can find, because there's gonna be some you can't get to, and I don't ever say rip walls out to get to your duct systems.
These
but-
are just, it's apart from the seam.
Yeah, I think.
Did you say that was called duct?
Well, this is
Mastic?
called mastic, yeah,
Mastic.
mastic, and you can buy it in. You can certainly get it at like. Probably won't find it at Home Depot, although you might.
I did, I found it.
Oh, did you find it?
I
Okay.
only had one kind, but it was like $7 for the tub.
Yeah,
It's
usually
super
comes in
easy.
like a
Oh,
gallon,
good.
yeah.
Okay.
It's water based. It doesn't smell.
Yeah.
It's super easy to put on. You can also don't use duct tape, because duct tape is the one thing you can't use on ducts.
Okay. Well, that's what I was gonna use.
But just
I mean,
you can also get aluminum tape, which is actually made for ducts. Now, it's a little more expensive, but it does a great job. I think it's sometimes called UL 181 tape. But yeah, duct tape is not made for ducts. It's great for other stuff.
Yes, it is.
But the mastic works well. I mean, you can use caulking mastic, that aluminum tape. And if you can get to it, then tape it up. Seal it up.
Oh, yeah, it's in a sealant.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll make this PDF available to anybody who wants it. This is an
Awesome.
excellent, like 60-page guide on various things, so I'm gonna give you a little more information.
That's the website to go on?
That is the website to get.
Wait a minute, I don't write that, Chris.
Now I'll just do that. All right, well, cool, thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric.